what's the theme of the week?
And this week we're going to be talking about spotting penguins in beautiful New Zealand. So New Zealand gives you a rare opportunity to observe penguins in their natural habitat. So there are three main penguin species that you can find in New Zealand. You can find the little blue penguins, you can find the yellow-eyed penguins, and you can find the fjordland crested penguins. So there are many penguins spotting options in New Zealand, from the commercial spotting opportunities, like you pay a fee and then you have like a full tour and commentary, to some New Zealand beaches where you'll be able to see penguins in their natural habitat. So before we begin, I just want to actually just stress one very, very important point, is that when you observe penguins by yourself, be sure to give them enough space so you're not disturbing their natural habitat. So give them a good 10 meters in order to not disturb them. Anyway, so as we're going to be going through all that, we're going to be watching little bee penguins coming back in the Otago Peninsula, if I'm correct. Yes. And they're coming back from a full day of fishing ashore with full bellies. Okay, so one of the best spots in the world to spot penguins,
in the world,
yes,
not
in the
just
entire
New
world,
Zealand.
I agree, in the world, I agree with myself, is the Banks Peninsula, Laura. So where is it?
Okay, the Banks Peninsula is a peninsula just off the coast of Christchurch. So Christchurch is in sort of the centre of the east coast of the South Island, and then from there, it's a bit of it's about a 2-hour drive to get to Akaroa, which is the main town of the Banks Peninsula, and where a lot
In the middle of the screen, there are some little blue penguin jumping. I find it very funny, just pointing it out.
This is going to be very distracting,
Yes.
isn't it? The Banks Peninsula is a great place to specifically see little blue penguins, which are the world's smallest species of penguins. They're also known as little penguins, blue penguins.
And then the one on screen right now.
And they're the ones on screen right now. And if you're from Australia, they call them fairy penguins over there. So, if you are visiting the Banks Peninsula, there is a dedicated penguin tour. They're called Pohatu Penguins tour, which takes you to a bay where you will find the largest colony of little blue penguins in, I think, not just New Zealand, but the world. And they have a really good sort of observation hides there. And also they have... they do sort of penguin chick rehabilitation. So if there has been a hide where the mother and father hasn't returned to feed the penguin chicks, then those guys will sort of do the feeding for them, and once they're strong enough, they release them back into the wild. So it's a really cool experience there to learn about the conservation of penguins. So that's really great. But you also you'll most likely see little blue penguins on cruises around the Akaroa harbour. So there's plenty of dolphin swimming cruises, sailing cruises, just plain old scenic cruises that depart from the Akaroa wharf. And on those cruises, you often get a quick glimpse of penguins dipping in and out of the water.
Indeed. So to be really specific, so some places that we recommend for spotting little blue penguins in and around Akaroa, so basically the Banks Peninsula.
Yeah, so to be specific, Flea Bay, which is actually the bay that Pohatu Penguins takes you to, it is a bit of a narrow gravel road to get there. So the great thing about the Pohatu Penguins tour is that they have...
They drive you there.
They drive you there, yeah. Basically, they have a 4-wheel drive vans, so it's not you... Although you can drive there yourself and meet them there, they do offer pickups in town, which is very handy. Alternatively, there is the Hinawai Reserve, which is a free reserve that you can go to. They have walking trails around there, so if you're lucky as you are exploring the area, you may just happen to stumble upon some penguins there. And as Robin said earlier, if you do, make sure to keep your distance so that you can just sort of observe their natural behavior from afar without disturbing them.
And finally, as we wrap the Banks Peninsula, if you want to see what that Pohatu Penguin tour looks like, we do have a video on the channel where we do the full tour and we take you through the entire experience, so you can check it out yourself. Alright, so next up, and probably the most popular places to see little blue penguins in New Zealand is the town of Oamaru. So Oamaru, where is it, Laura? What is it?
Oamaru is just a short drive north of Dunedin, which we will get to later, and south of Christchurch. So still same on the east coast of the South Island, but just a little bit further down from Christchurch. So Oamaru is really known for being one of the best places to see little blue penguins, mainly because it is a town built sort of around a penguin habitat, or the penguins are kind of still sort of making nests and stuff within the town itself. So as you are, like, you know, walking around, or if you're visiting attractions, even like Steampunk HQ, which is sort of like a bit of a sort of art gallery museum there, and just if you're
I like that one of the penguins just stopped to listen to you. So yeah, please continue.
Yeah.
It's very interested. Yeah.
Thanks, penguin. So yeah, if you are sort of just basically going around town near the coast, you will sometimes just see penguins, especially at dusk. But yeah, we have even seen them like sort of poking their heads out of small little holes during the day and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, your chances of seeing penguins by chance is quite high in Oamaru, but there are dedicated sort of penguin attractions there that you can go visit. Specifically, what it's called is the Oamaru Blue Penguin Colony. So yeah, they have basically this sort of tiered seating area around where a lot of blue penguins come and nest, and they've built hides and stuff, so all the penguins have their own little houses. And yeah, the penguins just come onto shore and run into those hides. They have special lighting, and they ask you not to use your own photography because that can the flashes from your phones and stuff can, you know, cause disturbance to the penguins. So they have this whole setup for you to just sit, watch, listen to the commentary from a lady on the loudspeaker or a man on the loudspeaker. And yeah, that's kind of the whole experience, which again you can watch on our channel. We do have a video of the Little Blue Penguin Colony in Oamaru, so you can give that a little search if you're interested. So yeah, that is Oamaru in a nutshell.
Alright, so in short, you get the Oamaru Little Blue Penguin Colony, and you also get Bushy Beach, where you'll be able to spot those little blue penguins.
Oh yeah, I didn't mention Bushy Beach. So if you are wanting to see it go on a sort of a independent penguin watching adventure, then Bushy Beach, there is a short walk to access a lookout and then some hides, where it's actually not specifically little blue penguins that you'll see on this walk, but it's yellow-eyed penguins. So and usually there are better times of the day and times of the year to go and do this, which we do have more information about on the website. But yeah, on the website I mean nzpocketguide.com. So yeah,
that's nzpocketguide.com.
Yes.
Link in the description, by the way.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another opportunity to sort of see them independently. Those cute penguins.
Very cute. Alright, so next up on our list, and Laura kind of foreshadowed it before, it's the town/city, actually big city for New Zealand standards, of Dunedin.
Yeah, so Dunedin is further south from Oamaru, again still on the east coast of the South Island, but still heading further south to perfect penguin territory. And more specifically in Dunedin, you can see penguins on the Otago Peninsula, which is
it's a wildlife paradise. There's
is.
albatross colony. There's so much there.
Yeah, so I mean, you can try your chances and drive out there to there's different bays, nooks and crannies that you can drive or take walking tracks to, and a lot of those walking tracks are listed on the Department of Conservation website. But on the other hand, we personally find it better to go on guided tours, because they will take you to the best known spots or even private conservation areas where your chances...
Which are not accessible by public.
And yeah, your chances of seeing penguins on those tours are so much higher than if you are likely to go try penguin spotting on your own. And also they're kind of good because they're like specifically the Elm Wildlife Tour, which we do have again a video on this channel about if you want to check it out. They have binoculars. They have obviously they can give you a lot more insights into the conservation of the different wildlife, not just penguins on the Otago Peninsula. So yeah, there's some really great, insightful tours, and we do highly recommend that you take a tour when it comes to penguin spotting on the Otago Peninsula. And also, they're not crazy expensive either. They're actually quite good value for money.
I'm also going to point out that video that we're currently playing with the little blue penguins coming back are actually from Dunedin. That's from the Otago Peninsula there. So it's from basically the little blue penguin colony, which is there at the Albatross Centre.
Exactly. So that will segue us onto our specific recommended locations on the Otago Peninsula and Dunedin to spot penguins. So this beach where we are right now is Pilot's Beach, which is right beside the Royal Albatross Centre. Why are you laughing at me?
I'm just laughing that since we've been talking about Dunedin, this very spot, the penguins have decided to be shy, and we haven't seen a single penguin. It's fine, they're coming back. The video is about an hour long, so they'll get there, but I just find it kind of hilarious.
Yeah, so at the Royal Albatross Centre, they have this sort of setup on an evening when the sun's going down. They have sort of elevated platforms on Pilot's Beach, and they will take you there just before the sun goes down, so you can all get yourself set up. Also, bring a jacket, it can get a bit chilly. And then as dusk hits, that's when the penguins come right on time. Oh, and here's some now, look at them all. But you see them as what they call rafts in the water. Oh, one came really close. Oh God, I'm so distracted now.
So the reason why the little blue penguins come back in, as rafts is that they basically wait in the water, and there's basically safety in numbers. And so when they feel like there are enough of them, then they all kind of wash themselves ashore to the beach and start climbing and making their way to their burrows. So that's why on the video you'll see them kind of wait for a while, and you see them not coming and then come as a group, and then not coming and come as a group. So it's really interesting, and it's a very fascinating natural sight to see. Like even on the video right now, you can see some little head bubbling just on the crest, just under Laura basically.
Yeah.
And they're kind of slowly making their way and wait for like one penguin to do a few steps, and they're like, okay, we all go, and they'll come all as groups. It's just a very, very fun and entertaining things to watch.
Yeah. So and then another place where you have a possibility of seeing penguins is Sandfly Bay, which is a free walk that you can do on the Otago Peninsula. However, the walk is closed in the summer months. They actually close it for conservation reasons, to protect some of the wildlife there. So outside of the summer months, if you're traveling in the low season or the shorter seasons, then that's a good walk to do.
Alright, so moving on to a very different location, a more summery location, the Marlborough Sounds.
Yes, the Marlborough Sounds. This is at the top of the South Island. You can access it particularly from the town of Picton, which most people will know as the town that the ferries between the North and the South Islands, basically where it departs or arrives onto the South Island. Mostly in the Marlborough Sounds, you may see penguins as you're on one of the cruises there, or if you're taking the Queen Charlotte Sound track. There is a multi-day walking and mountain biking track in the Queen Charlotte Sound, and when you arrive at some of the beaches there, you may be lucky to see penguins. Admittedly, the Marlborough Sound isn't as good as the other locations we've just mentioned for seeing penguins, so if you are adamant to see penguins and you're like, I need to see penguins, then
check out the top three.
Check out the top three, but the Marlborough Sounds, it's just worth a mention because, you often will see them more on cruises, bobbing their heads up and down. Most likely you'll be seeing little blue penguins on the water.
Okay, specific spots?
Okay, specific spots. Picton itself is the town. It does have, it is a coastal area, so if you're sort of in town by the beach, or there are some walking tracks alongside the town that follow the coast, then you may be lucky to see penguins there. And like I say, the Queen Charlotte Sound, which is the sound sort of coming away from Picton, if you're taking wildlife boat tours or doing the Queen Charlotte Sound track, then again you might be pretty lucky, or most likely to see penguins out on the water.
All right, and then number 5, we have a completely different island because we stuck to the South Island for the whole time. How about Stewart Island?
Yeah, so going further, even further south of the South Island, then just below the South Island is Stewart Island. Yeah, it only makes sense. That is the sort of one of the most southern parts of New Zealand, has a lot more penguin sighting opportunities. So yeah, you can spot them even from the one settlement that's on the island called Oban. And yeah, obviously, like we've been sort of mentioning throughout this video, the best time to see specifically little blue penguins, but any species of penguins really, is at dusk. So yeah, you sort of have to time it quite right. Just sort of sit around in a coastal area, even by the wharf in Oban, and sometimes you might be lucky enough to spot a penguin or two sort of hopping up onto the rocks.
Indeed. Any specific locations, Laura?
Yeah, so specifically, if you want to do some sort of independent penguin viewing, you can make your way to Lee Bay, which is a short hike away from Oban. Or you can go get some height and get a different sort of observation angle, which is from Observation Rock, although this is quite far away from the coastline. It's more of a sort of getting a grand view, and you may spot from the coastline some, you know, little figures coming up onto the beach. So that can give you sort of a wider angle and more area to cover, although not the closest sort of penguin viewing.
Indeed. All right, that wraps up our top 5. We have 5 more coming up in a minute. Okay, should we move on to another few locations to see penguins in New Zealand?
Why not?
All right, so next up we are on number 6, and we're going to be talking about Monro Beach.
Yes, so this
Where is it?
First of all, we're going to the west coast of the South Island now. So just before reaching the town of Haast, so it's like halfway between Haast and Franz Josef. And yeah, Monro Beach is accessible via a walking trail. It's even a wheelchair accessible walking trail. I mean,
that's quite rare.
Yeah. So what's really cool here is that you will maybe have a chance of seeing, I was just saying before about the Fiordland crested penguins, and this is one of the sort of like more accessible places that you can see them if you're not taking, say, a cruise in Milford Sound or Dowful Sound. Then if you are on foot, then you may get a chance of seeing them at Monro Beach. So yeah, it's a beautiful sort of windswept beach. It does get a lot of sort of gnarly weather in that area, but yeah, it's a really beautiful beach to check out, really interesting and scenic in itself. But yeah, just seeing you know, just keep an eye sort of in the bushy areas. Don't go right up to the bushy areas and start like really like trying to search for penguins that way. If you just sort of keep a distance
again, yeah, we mentioned about keeping a respectful distance.
Keep an eye on the bushy areas, and that might be where you can see some penguin activity. So yeah.
Specific locations, Laura. And time of the year, maybe.
Well, yeah. Basically a time of the year to avoid, because is it not avoid? Best sightings.
Yes.
So yeah, best time to see penguins at Monro Beach is between July and November, which is typically the breeding season for penguins. So that's when you'll see a lot of activity of a lot of penguins going in and out from the beach, and you know, looking after their bebes.
All right. And so yeah, did you say specific spots? Sorry, I was running out for a second.
I mean, you can't get more specific than Monro Beach itself.
Nice. Okay, so let's move on to the little town of Timaru.
Yes, the little known town of Timaru. I guess it's not on most people's sort of itineraries when they travel New Zealand, but it is, again, on the east coast of the South Island, and it's sort of along that sort of string. You've got Christchurch, Oamaru, Dunedin, and then further down you've got Timaru. So again, there is that sort of whole coast is little blue penguin territory. So again, and they do have little blue penguins in Timaru. So as the sun is going down, head to the main beach of the town, which is Caroline Bay, and particularly on the ends of Caroline Bay. So I think last time we were sort of on the southern end when we saw penguins there. That's where you can just sort of, have a look at the little blue penguins coming in from shore. They have sort of roped off sort of fenced areas to protect the nesting burrows. So obviously they're there for a reason, so don't stand over the sort of guide ropes and stuff. So just keep your distance once again. But what's really good about doing penguin observation from Caroline Bay is because it is a town, there are street lighting about, so you can actually use that to your advantage. I mean, if it's not disturbing the penguins, they're obviously coming towards the lights into their burrows, and you can use that to actually easily observe the penguins. But just as a side note, don't shine any torches at them. They really won't like that. It's a really big no-no. So just keep that in mind. Just use whatever other lighting is about to observe them.
All right, a couple of specific locations in Timaru, Laura?
So specifically, there is an area called the Dashing Rocks at the eastern end of Caroline Bay, which is a really good place also to observe penguins, as well as at the southern end.
Here we go. All right, so next on our list we have one of our favorite locations in the whole of New Zealand, and that is the Catlins.
Yeah, so we are going further south once again from Timaru, and this is heading towards Invercargill, but just before you reach Invercargill is the Catlins coast. So here is another really good wildlife mecca. You will see seals, sea lions, and of course penguins. So more specifically, if you're looking for penguins and you're hoping to see them, then Curio Bay is a really good place to see penguins. Specifically, there's more yellow-eyed penguins in this area, and during specific seasons there will be sort of cordoned off areas to protect sort of the bushy areas that the penguins nest in, but again, don't go rummaging around in the bushy areas. Like last time when we went there, we saw some people doing that, which was just like so annoying. Just like give the penguins some room, guys. And also Curio Bay is famous for its fossilized forest, so that gives like another interesting element to the bay. So you can see all these like tree stumps and stuff sort of etched into the bay. It's really cool, like fossilized trees and stuff, so it's really cool.
So aside from Curio Bay, any other specific locations where you can see penguins in the Catlins?
Yeah, so another good bay to check out for penguins is Roaring Bay. So especially go in the late afternoon is the best time to maximize your chances of yellow-eyed penguins coming in and out. If I'm getting it correct, which I think it's near Nugget Point, this is where there's also viewing hides there, so use them to your advantage, so you can sort of sneak on the penguins and look at them through little boxes. Why not?
Little boxes.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so those are basically the 8 main locations where tourists will be able to see penguins in the wild, right? Just in their natural habitat. But we have a couple of extra locations which come with a little bit of a caveat, but we thought we include them just so you have the entire breadth of options when you come down to spotting penguins in New Zealand. So at number 9 we have zoos.
Yeah, so New Zealand does have a few zoos here and there, specifically in the largest cities of New Zealand. So first of all, there's the Auckland Zoo. That has an exhibition including penguins, and they have purpose-built exhibit designed to mimic their natural habitat. Similarly, Wellington Zoo, which is in the capital of New Zealand, both of these cities are on the North Island, by the way. They also have a penguin exhibit, providing visitors with the opportunity to observe these charismatic birds up close and learn about the zoo's conservation initiatives. And then finally, if you go to the Antarctic Centre, which is located in Christchurch, and Christchurch is known as the sort of gateway to the Antarctic, a lot of sort of cruises as well as flights, scientific expeditions and flights to the Antarctic sort of depart from Christchurch, so that's why there is an Antarctic Centre there. They do have a small exhibition of little blue penguins in sort of a little pool area, and they have a unique sort of observation where you can sort of see them through glass, so you can see them swimming underwater, which otherwise you can't really do.
Indeed. And so lastly on our list, we're going to have some very remote islands that pretty much nobody ever goes to. They're very hard to access. And so yeah, Laura, go through a couple of remote islands where you can see penguins.
So New Zealand does have some sort of offshore sub-Antarctic and Antarctic islands. So obviously with Antarctic in the name, as you can imagine, there's some...
It's going to be warm and balmy. Right?
Yeah, that's where I was going with that. Yeah, so you can imagine there's going to be some penguins here and there. The Auckland Islands, this is a protected area which is accessible on specific conservation tours.
I'm just going to mention that the Auckland Islands are not nowhere near Auckland, right? So some people actually do get that confused, right? The Auckland Islands are sub-Antarctic. They're very, very far from the South Island of New Zealand.
Another island is Campbell Island, which is home to yellow-eyed and rockhopper penguins. Again, you can view them during subantarctic expeditions. And then finally, Codfish Island is again a conservation area. So, you need special access to observe the rare species that live there.
Alright, so that wraps up 10 places where you can spot penguins in New Zealand, as those one here are going back to their burrow. It's very cute. I'm really enjoying it.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, I know. It's nice, isn't it?
Look at this little guy.
But
it looks quite big from that angle, but yeah.
Well, yeah, so what we're going to talk about next is going to be some tips for spotting penguins in New Zealand. So we'll have 5 awesome tips for you, and then we'll wrap that up. So, spotting penguins in New Zealand in their natural habitat is relatively quite easy, as you could see at the beginning of this video. However, there is some things you may want to keep in mind for spotting penguins in the wild. And some of them we already kind of hinted at them, which, for example, on number 1, observing them from a distance.
Yeah, so the idea of observing from a distance is you don't want to disturb the penguin's natural behaviors. So if they think that there is a threat nearby, then that means that parent penguins can end up abandoning their chicks. So you really don't want to, seem like a threat to the penguins. Make sure that you do observe from as far as possible, really. You can still get really amazing views, even, from 30, 40, 50 meters away. So just enjoy, watching them from afar. Don't go too close, or else it could be pretty disastrous for some penguins.
The next thing to keep in mind is to not look for burrows.
Yeah, so as we were mentioning before, there are, penguins will usually nest in sort of bushy areas or under logs or in rocks, that sort of thing. So, just don't actively go around and looking in the bushes. Stay away from, if you know you're in an area with penguins, and there's often signs about saying, that there's penguin habitat there, then stay away from the bushes. Don't actively go looking and poking your head in different sort of rocky holes or anything. Just if you happen to see a penguin, that's great, but if you're going right up to their habitat, then that can be again pretty disturbing for the penguins.
And to be quite fair, even for your own viewing experience, it's pretty terrible to look into the burrows, because all you're going to see is maybe a little bit of a shiny eye inside, and that's pretty much it. Well, if you stay far away from the burrow, the penguins will behave like in his natural habitat, coming in, coming out, going back in there. So you'll actually see some activities. So the further you are, the more, and that's basically relate to both of the points that we just mentioned. The further you are, the more amazing activities you'll be able to see, the more action you'll be able to see, because you see the size, for example, of those little blue penguins right here. They'll be terrified of the full-size human going toward them, just going to run away, and it doesn't make for a good view experience, doesn't make for good photos. It just doesn't work, right? So the further you are away, the more you're going to see them kind of behaving normally, and that's when the viewing is exceptional. Alright, so next up on the list, there are a few areas where you're driving and penguins may be crossing.
Yes, so the great thing in New Zealand is that they do often have signs for penguin crossing here.
Yes,
so slow.
which by itself makes for a very fun photo.
Yes, and you'll specifically see these signs around Dunedin, Akaroa, Oamaru, and the West Coast. But even if there isn't signs about, and perhaps you have just, you've just done a road trip down the Otago Peninsula, and it's, it's coming to the late afternoon or dusk, just really keep an eye on the roads and drive slowly, and then because there may be penguins crossing the road. And actually, we did notice this when we did the this exact tour that we're looking at on screen right now, after we did the penguin tour at the Royal Albatross Centre, and we saw the penguins coming in at Pilot's Beach. Once the whole spectacle was over, we hopped back in the car, and then when we were starting to drive away back down the Otago Peninsula, and we saw heaps of penguins running across the road. So we really had to go quite gingerly as we were leaving, so that's great. But yeah, just basically, you don't want to be in a rush when you're driving in around penguin area, because imagine the horror if something were to happen. So just drive slow, people. Let those penguins pass.
All right. So if you spot a penguin with, so next tip, if you spot a penguin which has patches of feathers or that looks a little scruffy, don't approach it. It's normal.
Yes. So you specifically may see scruffy looking penguins between November and March. And this is when their feathers are growing, they're molting.
Don't make them feel self-conscious about their looks,
They're
Laura.
molting their old feathers and getting new ones. So there have been reports.
This one is judging you for saying it's normal for them.
Yeah, there have been reports of some people maybe seeing them and being like, oh no, this penguin's sick. We need to go and save it and take it to an animal hospital or something. No, it's fine. The scruffy looking penguins is just all part of their sort of process. They're molting, and also just as a coincidence, as they are molting their feathers, it's also a very stressful time of the year for penguins. So you don't want to add more stress by approaching them.
All right. And speaking of stress, and that probably is mostly for the locals rather than for travelers, but obviously keep your dogs on a very tight leash when you go and spot penguins.
Yes. So if you are taking dogs to beach areas, specifically most beaches on the South Island is where you'll need to keep dogs on a leash. They may, be obviously very interested in sniffing out all those bushy areas where the penguins are nesting. So, basically, dogs love sort of killing birds. It's just part of their nature. So just keep dogs on a leash, especially when you're near coastal areas and beaches, and especially on the South Island. But if you're in a penguin area on the North Island, also keep dogs on a leash there too.
All right, so next tip is about the light, and we already mentioned that before. So obviously don't shine light at penguins.
Yeah, so the white lights, as they do disturb also human eyes to seeing in the dark, it also has a very worse effect on penguins as well. So if you happen to have a red torch, that tends to be better for wildlife viewing, and not for nocturnal wildlife. Same goes for kiwi birds. But yeah, most of us don't have a red torch on hand, so basically if you're wanting to use your phone torch or a white light torch, just try to use the natural lighting that's around. When you are in sort of these areas like Pilot's Beach here, which is the Royal Albatross Centre, or you're at the Oamaru Blue Penguin Colony, they have special lighting set up so they can sort of light up the area without disturbing the penguins, or the penguins just sort of get used to that in that area. So any additional lighting is really not sort of welcomed by the penguins.
All right, a very easy and simple one. If you see barriers, Laura, what do you do?
respect them.
Respect the barriers.
Do not cross the barriers. Do not cross into areas that are cordoned off because they're trying to, protect some fragile penguin nesting site. Just, keep your distance, and the barriers are there usually because maybe sort of conservation rangers in the past have seen issues of people going up to the nesting areas. So that's like a really big sort of hint to not approach the nesting site.
All right, and last tip and most important question today before we wrap it up. What is the single best thing you can do to actually spot penguins in New Zealand?
Take a guided tour. So this is our best wildlife viewing experiences have been going with, local conservation guides, people that are they're basically experts in wildlife in their local area. They will know where the best places are to spot them, know when the best time of day is to spot them. We'll have all good equipment like binoculars and stuff. They sort of
they know the rules, they respect the rules.
Yeah, they have to be licensed, and also work closely with the Department of Conservation, that sort of thing. So it's just all around like a good sort of like, so you don't even have to worry about the rules of, oh my god, am I too close to this penguin or not? Just if you're with a guide, they know all those rules anyway, and and that's like an official guide, not just like Bob from the market that you met that knows where a penguin is.
All right.
So
cool. So don't trust Bob.
Don't trust Bob from the market.
All right. If you find this video useful, click all the buttons. YouTube likes it, and maybe one day we'll get more than 100 views on the video. So there is what? A like button, a subscribe button, some of those kind of things, a bell button, a belly button, and a happy button. Here you go. Click all those. And there's a link in the description of the video for like all of the tips and everything we just gave you in written form, because we're good like that. It makes it easier for you, and I hope that you enjoyed seeing all those little penguins.